It's 9 a.m. on August 19th, 2026. I will now call to order this meeting of the St. Louis Board of Police Commissioners. Lieutenant Tully, please call the roll.
Commissioner Saraceno?
Here.
Commissioner Artiga?
Here.
Commissioner Jenkins-Gray?
Here.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Here.
Mayor Spencer?
Present.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
All present, sir.
Thank you, Lieutenant. If you're able to, please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of our meeting minutes from our August 5th, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 5th meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ortega.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sonia Jenkins-Gray. Is there any discussion regarding that? Seeing none, I will call for a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is number 5, and it's an unfinished business. Looking at the resolution for the chief of police to select the command staff above the rank. I've had a discussion with the chief, and after reviewing some things myself, we are about 95% complete, but I think at this time, it's in the best interest of good governance to not move for a vote. I'm going to ask for a motion to, again, postpone. Well, again, I think we're in a good position, but about 95%, but I think it's in the best interest that we do just kind of postpone this for another meeting. I would recommend our next, what is it, September meeting?
Yes.
I don't know that date, but we can look that up.
I'll
So-
make a motion to postpone to our next meeting.
Can we have the date on it?
September 2nd.
September 2nd.
September
First
2nd
September
meeting.
2nd. So I have a motion by Commissioner Ortega. Do I have a
Second.
second? Second by Commissioner Brown. Is any discussion regarding this? No discussion. Seeing no discussion, I will call for a vote.
Commissioner Saraceno?
Aye.
Commissioner Artiga?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins-Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Aye.
Mayor Spencer?
Aye.
All ayes, sir.
Thank you. Motion carries. Appreciate that very much. We'll move to our next agenda item, new business. So, the board has 2 agreements today we are considering. Mr. Sullivan is here for the Budget and Finance to answer any questions, and we'll discuss the agreements. And then at the end, we'll consider a resolution authorizing the agreements. Mr. Sullivan, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you.
The first contract is with Westover Ridge Equine Partners. It's for veterinary services for the horses that mount a patrol. $25,000 total. It was requested in the budget and approved in the budget. And the second is an MOU with the Crime Victim Center. It increases access for victims of violent crime to various services that they're gonna need while they're going through an investigation. No impact on the budget.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Is there any questions for Mr. Sullivan regarding these 2 agreements?
How many visits to the horses do we get usually?
Maybe 7 or 8 a month, maybe, kind of depends, but 7 or 8 a month at the most.
Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, we'll call for is there a motion?
Make a
make a-
motion
I'll
to
second.
approve the agreements as written.
Thank you. Commissioner Sonia Jenkins-Gray makes the motion. Is there a second to Commissioner Sonia Jenkins-Gray? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. All right. Any discussion regarding these agreements? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote, a roll call vote. Lieutenant Tully.
Commissioner Saraceno?
Aye.
Commissioner Artiga?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins-Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Aye.
Mayor Spencer?
Present.
4 ayes, 1 present, sir.
Thank you. Motion carries. All right, our next item on the agenda is our chief's report. Chief Tracy, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Good morning.
just like I did 2 weeks ago, I'd like to just put it up, investing in safety in the PowerPoint, which will take us to a CompStat report. And looking at patterns and trends, we'll take a look at where we are in the city. This is the last 7 days. It ended up at midnight on Sunday. So we go 7 days versus the last 7 days last year, same time period. You can see we're down 29%, 0 murders versus 1 in the same time period. 4 shooting incidents and 4 shooting victims versus the same time period last year. And then we had 2 juvenile incidents and juvenile shot last year. At this time. That rolls over to a 28-day period. I know it's been mentioned sometime that homicides were looked at about 8 weeks ago, and that there was an increase. You can see now, after a 28-day, it was down 2 weeks ago when I said, now it's 4 versus 10. So it's a pretty big decrease, down 60% for the 28-day period. So when you keep doing the work, it's about consistency, looking at patterns and trends, trying to identify where they are, and especially with all crimes. That's how we look at the CompStat methodology. And then patterns and trends are starting here, and then you start to see things. But it's good to see that we're down in shooting incidents versus the last 28-day period versus the same period last year, down 15% overall crime. And as you can see, we're down 88% in the last 28 days in juvenile shooting incidents and juvenile shooting victims. We don't forget about misdemeanor crimes. You can see 59%. And 43% 7-day, 28-day. But what we really got to look to, and especially when you start getting towards the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter, where are we at year to date? Year to date, 75 versus 87, down 14%, which is a 13 total numbers in murders that were down compared to last year. But I'll get into the murder numbers, but it's pretty good to go down. You got to reduce the shooting incidents, which ends up reducing the murders. You go after the trigger pullers and using all the things that you can do, leveraging technology and evidence-based policing, forensics, and then community trust and building that cooperation with the community to come forward and say crime's not acceptable. Down 7% for the year. But I think is really important is that to see the trend of this methodology. We started in January 2023, so 2022 is our baseline. Down in every category, 43% in overall crime from where we are. We need to compare ourselves against ourselves, not against other cities. How are we doing? There's fluctuations in cities, and they go year to year, and sometimes they have great increases, and they have decreases, and they talk success. Success is over several periods worth of time on the type of methodology you're using. And so we're showing that, 43% down. Look at 40% down in shootings. That's almost half the amount of people getting shot in our city than they were in years past. And in the juveniles, very proud of that. The MOU, working with the juvenile criminal justice system, the MOUs that we have in place with Judge Stelzer, what we're doing, identifying these kids, getting them the help that they need, making sure that they're brought there, and then we can find out and assess those issues that are happening at home and with the juveniles. I think that's helped immensely. We started that a few years ago, and you're starting to see the results. Still a lot of work to do, down 19% overall in misdemeanor crimes. If we just take a look at when people talk about businesses and tourism, although we're down 43% overall crime in the whole city, if you look at where we were in 2022, we're down 57% in overall crime in downtown. And we're down in shooting incidents and juvenile shooting incidents, and 44% down in misdemeanor thefts. And it's gone down every year since then. Downtown West, which covers this area and also Union Station, and also covers the soccer stadium, down 53%, down in all these areas. And so this is something that, this is work. This is not something that happens overnight. We didn't get here overnight, but we're certainly coming out of these things post-pandemic, and these crime numbers are actually reductions from pre-pandemic. So I want people to understand this is not just coming down from the highs of 2020. These are some historic lows that we talked about with decades low in crime if we go back. I want to make sure the measurements start from 2021 because that's when I can go back and use this CompStat methodology, apples versus apples. Take a look at murders. Let's go to the next one. This is where we were year to date. Year to date, 170 at this time in 2020. 118, 128, 101, 105, 88, and 75 right now. Why this is really important, there's things with national trends where they're talking about how they're dropping in other cities. Well, the other cities are lagging behind us, and the periodicals show that, when we talk about how St. Louis is doing, it's been written that St. Louis started having the big reductions a couple of years ago, way ahead of some of these other cities. So there's some that report out there that we're lagging behind other cities. We're actually not lagging behind them year to year. We're actually ahead of these other cities because we started getting these reductions earlier than these other cities. As you can see, this was 263 murders. This was 200 murders end of year, 200 murders end of year in 2022. Then we went to 160, 150, 140, and we're trending 13 murders down from last year at this time. So it has been said that we're lagging behind other cities. They're only doing year to year. We've hit these things and started getting these reductions much earlier than other cities, Kansas City, Baltimore, all these places. So we have diminishing returns because we already hit the big stride going down from 263 to 200 to 160 to 150 to 140. So I don't want a mischaracterization out there that we're falling behind or not, we're lagging behind with other cities' successes. That's just not true. And I want to make sure for the record that if some people have that information, that I can correct the record. Would be happy to talk to them about some of those things because we are not lagging behind. We're actually ahead of the curve. That's a mischaracterization. So I just want to make sure that gets on the record. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions, and those are some of the crime stats to try to do this a heck of a lot more quicker than I've done in the past.
Any questions for the chief?
Thank you very much.
Good report. Thank you, chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Very good. This could be, okay, we're moving on. Move to our next agenda item, announcements. I'll open the floor for any board members that have any announcements. Any further announcements? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move to our board attorney, Jennifer. Any announcements from the attorneys? Nothing. Nothing, thank you. We'll move over to Mr. Winters, our transition director. Any announcements for us?
Just a brief one. Thanks to Mr. Sullivan and to the chief. We've signed off on the HDR sound study, and that's in process now. So we're hopefully get a timeline on when they'll be complete with that. We're moving forward.
Just, Mr. Winters, we just clarified what that means, the HDR sound study.
Yes, so in conjunction with recommendations from BPS in the city, the police department's getting a full sound engineer sound study for the gun range down off of Gasconade. We've retained HDR, which has done, I would say, several projects already at the range. So we're doing additional study prior to doing all the improvements to kind of do sound suppression for the neighborhood. So that's all in process.
And that was in concern of the sounds of the
Yes.
firing range. Thank you. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to, I'm going to ask Lieutenant Tully to read that, to move into, oh, I'm sorry.
Before we go in there, I just want to, it's not an announcement, but I would like to have some discussion about the recent announcements related to our federal partnerships. I think it's really important. I know there's been some discussion about having some conversations about this in closed session. It's my desire as mayor that there be direct communication with the public about the decision-making related to federal partnership. It's unclear to me who was involved in the decisions leading up to the arrangement and agreement with our federal partners. It's unclear to me if the mayor has a role in that decision or subsequent decisions related to extension of the timeline, expansion of the agreements, and it's unclear to me if this board had a role in that decision or subsequent decisions as it relates to federal agreements.
Chief, I wouldn't have an answer. Do you have an answer to that? If you.
In every city that I've worked in, and including this city, even prior to my becoming the police chief, whether we're under local, state control, we have agreements with federal and state authorities that are in place, that we actually, and even local authorities. And so this is a continuation of where they bring in additional resources. Earlier this year, the U.S. Marshals brought in additional resources to make sure they went after federal warrants. We have people at our task force offices, we assisted with them to get some violent criminals off the street that did not go back to court or were wanted. Earlier this year, the FBI, we worked with them. They made an announcement, and because of the MOUs that we have in place, they can bring in additional resources. We work with them. They made announcements, I believe, I was there. Senator Schmidt and our former Attorney General, who is now a Deputy Director, Bailey, was here to make an announcement on that. And this is a continuation with the ATF, DEA. We work with them every single day. Our offices, we have a U.S. Attorney embedded into our CompStat. We have a Circuit Attorney embedded into our CompStat. And then when these agreements that we have in place, if they fluctuate with numbers, the good thing is the communication. And that communication was done through a press conference to the public. And what we did is that we told everybody there might be additional people if you see more ATF agents out there. Plus, we had DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshals, and the ATF that was up there with the U.S. Attorney, and that was a law enforcement operational issue to tell people what's going on and to make sure that they understood that this is being coordinated with the local police department, who the people do trust. And that's an operational issue that in every city that I've been in has not ever been questioned in this way of why we're doing it. They trust the chief to be the leader. I've heard who's leading this police department. Well, all during this transition from local control to when the governor signed the bill before the general election, I went right onto the state. I didn't have a board in place, but what they did trust is the chief runs operations. The governor was happy with the way things are being run, the way this chief is doing things. Former mayors have done this, including this police board, who give me the authority to go out and do operational issues. I put that out at a press conference to make sure that the public knew what was going on in light of ATF officers and SLMPD officers 2 weeks prior to that getting shot at, and thank God they didn't lose their lives. And people understood, why are they out with the ATF? Well, we always work with the ATF, and they might be bringing more resources in. And then the bottom line is that I also have relationships with our federal and state partners. And until they make an official announcement, I cannot go out and start talking about things until they make that official announcement, because I have to embargo things to make sure I build trust with them and to make sure that I'm a good partner with them and nothing gets out before they're ready to make that commitment. And they made that commitment, and then the next day, we actually made the notifications to the board that we're moving forward with additional resources. We're doing a press conference, and that press conference is going to be law enforcement and also prosecutor only. It was not my decision, but that's the way we wanted to keep it. And so we did make our notifications that morning. Mayor, your office was notified. Ben Johnson was very happy to hear that. He thought it was great news. He said he'd have to let you know. Please let me finish, Mayor. You asked the question, so I need to finish, please. Thank you. And then Mitch McCoy actually called over to your PIO, and they were very happy with it. And they asked, does anyone else know? I said, we're notifying the Board of Police Commissioners right now because of the press conference, because of the trust that you've given this police chief, and to do operational issues to drive down crime. That's what you're supposed to do. It's not unorthodox to do stuff like this and make sure that they're running up, because I do work with them. And then when we ramp up certain resources, including the time when we had the No Kings March, the governor stood up the National Guard, Mayor, and they put the National Guard. But do you know who they entrusted to help run that? Me, even your office. And I gave you updates afterwards to Nancy Haas when she was here. And so you thanked me for that, and so did Nancy Haas for the way that was run when additional resources came in. So I do appreciate your confidence then, but certainly that's what the thing that the chief should be doing, the CEO should be doing that. And if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I think some of the things, if it's operationally, should go into an executive session, but that's how this came about.
Thank you, Chief. Maybe I could be a little more direct in my question. Really, I appreciate all the other words here involved, but really, I just would like to have some clarity for me as mayor, the chief elected official of the city of St. Louis, and the board of police commissioners, if there's any involvement in the part of the mayor or the board in those decisions. It sounds to me from your words that the mayor and the Board of Police Commissioners was not involved in those decisions leading up to that, nor do we have any involvement in subsequent decisions. And I think it's, as you pointed out, the trust and the transparency and the communication are important. And I'm really just seeking clarity. And it sounds to me, if I were to summarize your words, and forgive me if I get this wrong, this is why I'm seeking clarity, Chief, that the mayor and the Board of Police Commissioners is to trust the chief to operationally make those decisions without input or involvement from the mayor or the Board of Police Commissioners.
I think back in,
And,
was it
sorry,
March?
excuse me, Commissioner, I would really just appreciate some clarity on that.
I get it.
Chief?
Mayor, I think I've been very clear in what we do. We have executive sessions, we have public safety meetings, Mayor, we have cabinet meetings. You choose sometimes not to ask the questions in the executive session. I've been very clear on some of the things that we're doing. There's some things that are sensitive that I can't go out publicly, and I'm also protecting this board and yourself, that if information gets out there that shouldn't, that I'm protecting you from that information getting out in relationship with the feds. And then we were very transparent in that press conference, and I think that's what handled it. And I'm going to tell you, the business community, the community out there, the Urban League, the phone calls that I got thanking the chief for going out and doing this and accepting resources and going to do that was overwhelming. And I certainly see that as a positive. And then to have a police chief that can pull this together, having trust, it's a very, very, the relationship to make sure that we can do this. The feds are going to come in, they're allowed to work here. But the good thing is you have a chief that can continue to work with them. And I believe I was very transparent. I was transparent that morning. And I was transparent in the press conference to let the press ask any questions that they need to do.
Chief, again, that's really not the question I'm asking. I'm really just seeking clarity on whether the mayor or the police board had a role in that decision or subsequent decisions. I hate to really just try to put a fine point on it, but that's really what I'm seeking to do. I'm just looking for clarity on whether I as mayor or this board has a role. And the answer really is yes or no. I really just want to understand if I have a role in making subsequent decisions, or this board does, or if that's something that you as chief and your staff do without input or guidance from the mayor or the board. Because, Chief, with all due respect, we're looking at potentially future decisions. As you pointed out in that press conference, as you stated, there may be an expanded timeline, there may be expanded relationships, and I'm looking for whether or not, as mayor, I'm involved in those decisions, or as if this body is, so that we can be prepared to help make those decisions if we're part of it or if we're not.
Chief, I'm going to ask a question, Chief. Are these sensitive information that may be being discussed in, that could compromise investigations or
Some
anything?
of it can be sensitive, President, and some of it also, if we get ahead of things when the federal government has not committed the resources, and I go out and tell people that we're going with the resources, it's not going to put me in a good place to commit resources for someone else until they're ready to do it. So it kind of puts me in a timeline, but once again, they bring resources in and out all the time. I think it was just good to talk about this because in light of what happened a couple of weeks with the ATF offices, there was a lot of concern, what is the ATF doing here? And I thought I'd shed some light on additional resources are coming in, and those are the things, I thought it was at the right time. And I work with the ATF, we work with them. We have a strike force out there of multi-agency people that work in our city all the time, coordinated underneath this chief. And that is the power that you've given to me by all these things. And this is just an extension of it. So to continue to do these type of things and to put it out, Mayor, that was being transparent to the public, to let them know that this is not a different operation, that where other cities have gone sideways, that your police chief is actually hosting, and he's actually leading the press conference with our federal and state authorities to assure the public that it's not something that's happening that has happened in other places. And it's been looked at as a model, And I've gotten a lot of compliments, and a lot of other police chiefs and academics have called and said, that's the way it should be done, Chief, well done. And I'm glad you got the support of the board, which you are part of, Mayor. And any questions that has to have sensitive nature, I would be more than happy to answer in the executive session. But this is how it's come about. And it's not to try to keep the mayor out of it, but it's entrusting the chief to run things operationally and to keep you abreast of what's going on. These numbers are up here, these public safety meetings that we have, the cabinet meetings you have, and executive sessions. I'm very transparent, but there are some things that no mayor or board would ask a chief in a public session that they should be asking, because there's some sensitivity to some of the things that are happening.
Well, Chief, and
Commissioner
with all
Gray
due
has a-
respect,
Commissioner
I'm
has-
not asking any of those
Chief-
questions. I'm just looking for clarity on whether we have involvement, really. And I think
the
there's no
meeting
sense,
that we
there's
had-
really.
We had a meeting in March over at the FBI building.
No,
I think it was
look,
very much
Commissioner,
a
if you don't want to know if we have involvement in these decisions, that's one thing. But I
You
do
have been
think we
given
owe that
responsibility,
to the community.
through
Whether who's
through the
deciding
law,
these things.
that you have
That's all.
responsibility for operations on a day-to-day basis, okay?
And the statute says either executive director or CEO or chief. That's what I think
Right,
the
and
statute says.
chief. So my question, piggybacking off of what the mayor had said, is that for me, a yes or no answer is finite. That means that in every situation, this will occur. Is it your professional opinion, running the operations, that you can answer with a yes or no, giving the volatility, the sensitivity, the confidentiality, and a number of different things, that all the time you won't confer with the board or the mayor, or yes, you will confer with the board of the mayor, board and the mayor?
It's a case-by-case
It's
basis.
a case, okay.
And when a situation like this arises where there are concerns by the mayor, I'd be more than happy to continue that conversation. And I've asked, can we do this in the executive session, that hopefully some of the concerns can be answered, Mayor, and why we were in this situation, because it is case-by-case. Sometimes these feds will make announcements way in advance, and sometimes they're not going to make it way in advance. But what I can assure you is that the relationship that I have is very good, and they entrust this chief as well as the public, and I thank the trust that the board has put in me to be the CEO and to continue to do this. So on a finite answer that I can, on the thing that I can't give a finite answer, the answer is yes.
Okay.
You know, and for my point, you know, we get asked, Chief, I'm sure you can appreciate this, that the community has a lot of concern about federal partnerships. And the community is demanding to know who's making these decisions. And if the decision is, if the mayor is part of the decision, or if the board is part of the decision. It's my understanding that leading up to this, the board was not included in that decision. I can tell you definitively the mayor was not. So the question for me is just, do we have a role in future decisions? Because the community deserves that answer. I'm not, and I haven't at all during this meeting, or even come close to asking questions that would compromise any of the operations, as was suggested, but rather just looking for some clarity on who is making these decisions. It sounds like, thank you, Commissioner Jenkins-Gray, for asking for some clarity here, that the chief is, the CEO is making these decisions, or has, without board guidance in that regard. Look, I think it's just important that we can communicate and have some transparency to the public who's making these decisions, Chief. And I would
Absolutely.
appreciate that clarity moving forward.
But I do think I wanted to just one follow-up statement, Mayor, to that, just to make sure that the public and we're all clear. What I understood the chief to say is that it is on a case-by-case operational need. And as the chief, he makes that decision depending on a number of factors that could go into when the decision needs to be made, you know, et cetera. Because sometimes I think from an operations standpoint, it has to be a decision where you don't have time to pull other people into the decision-making process. But we trust you to make the appropriate decision based off of the circumstances that we may not have knowledge of, because that is why you're the chief. But it is on a case-by-case basis, and your effort is always to be as transparent as you can with the mayor and with the board. And we all have complete access to you on a one-on-one basis when needed, if there are any questions. And so I understand why the public would have questions. But again, there's a level of trust in your ability and what you have done for this city and for this department that you're going to make the best decision based off the circumstances that are in front of you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Commissioner.
Thank you. I see no further
Thank you.
comments from the chief. Thank you. All right. Would you be able to, we're going to move into adjournment and move into executive session. Can you please read the motion? Commissioner?
Oh, yes.
Do you have the motion? Or do you have
I do. Is there a motion to enter into executive session following adjournment of this meeting pursuant to RSMO 610.0211, RSMO 610.0213, and RSMO 610.02119? Is there a second?
I'll make
the
that
motion?
motion.
Is there a motion?
Motion by Commissioner Ortega, second by Commissioner Brown. Any discussion? Seeing none, call for a roll call vote. Lieutenant Tully?
Commissioner Saraceno?
Aye.
Commissioner Artiga?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Aye.
Mayor Spencer?
Aye.
All ayes, sir.
Thank you. The motion to enter executive session passes. We will now move into the next agenda item, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, everyone, for attending.